this is a prequel in Lamentations of our session, and you guys are a group of adventurers who've met up, and you have yet to meet a cleric to help you in your party. But those of you who are specialists and fighters, you met up and did a few early kind of jobs that weren't really very fruitful. You know, it's kind of like you made minimum wage, so to speak, from an adventuring perspective. But along the way, you did meet up with an interesting magic user named Gizmo. And just as a reminder to ourselves and to the people watching, go ahead and introduce yourself and your character's name and their class. We'll start with Mike.
Okay, my name is Brungold. I'm a specialist, and I'm a 22-year-old male, and I'm lawful. That's about all I know about myself right now.
Okay.
Pretty simple.
All right. Kail, you're up next.
Yes, I am playing Terran. He's a human fighter. Carries around a big claymore, and he's 27, and I think he's lawful something, I forget.
Okay. Niels.
Yeah, I'm playing Freya, a 23-year-old female specialist who is not afraid to use her body to get part of what she wants.
That's always a good trait. Martin.
Oh, I play Gizmo, magic user. He's chaotic at minimum, and he basically jumps into any idea that comes around.
Good. All right, Heath.
I play Ari Zen, a fighter, a 30-year-old fighter, so I've been in the game for a minute, killing people. I'm not very smart, but I love to kill. I'm very loyal to my party and to the people that I protect, and I just love to drink, take part in bar maidens, and fight.
Okay. And with that, you guys have, you've met Gizmo. You've gone on the road kind of out of the area of most of the local kingdoms and kind of a little bit further out away from civilization, sort of into the borderlands. And you found yourself in a small village. And when I say small, this is just a notch bigger than a hamlet. There are about 12 buildings. There's only one inn. There's a blacksmith, a couple shops, and the rest of the buildings are for people in town who maintain different kinds of local business. There is some agriculture and a few farms that are kind of on the peripheral outside of this village. The village is not known for anything other than being an oasis kind of in the middle of nowhere. It is not far from a river, and there's a small tributary of that river that kind of goes near the town. They do have wells in the town, and there's a magistrate who kind of administers town affairs, but there's only a volunteer constabulary, and that volunteer constabulary consists of 4 residents who each take 2 days a week where they're given a small stipend to kind of march around the town in padded armor, and they have a sword. They kind of keep the peace. So you guys kind of roll up into this town in the afternoon. It's late afternoon, but it's still light out. And you guys get to the inn, and you go into the inn, and it looks like a few other people who are traveling through have gotten here as well. You don't see a lot of people. You think there's maybe 10 people, and most of them look like people who are maybe on their way either, to another location, and this is just a pit stop, or maybe people who have come to town to trade goods for a few days and are staying at the inn. You guys are settling in for a drink. You have a bite to eat, you kind of rest, you enjoy a round of drinks. The people in this room don't really pay any attention to you. They don't seem to pay attention to each other. Everybody's kind of off in their own little thing. The only person who literally comes to your table is a young man who maybe looks like a teenage boy, about 16 years old. He's the one who brings you your drinks, and he's the one who brings the food for you guys. He collects a couple silver from you guys, and you see him he's like the only person working other than the grown man who's behind the bar, who looks like he's probably the boy's father. He looks like a man in his late 30s, pretty well built, and he seems to be kind of keeping an eye on the bar and taking money. After you guys have finished a nice meal and you're into your second, maybe third round, you hear some sounds like a commotion outside, like yelling. You can't quite make out what it is, but you hear somebody clearly yelling outside, and then there's like a response. But it sounds like kind of an urgent call coming from outside.
Is there a window or?
Yeah, if you go over to the window, you kind of, it's there's no glass. It's just a window with wooden shutters, and the shutters are open, and there's like a curtain. So you run over to the window and you kind of pull the curtains apart. You look out and you see a wounded looking man, like obviously bleeding, right? Like running, but like limping towards the inn. And you see one of the volunteer town guards, like kind of walking up to him, and you hear the wounded man yelling like, "Please help! Oh, please get help! We've been attacked."
Okay, I simply open the door to look what the commotion outside is.
Okay. What are the rest of you guys doing?
I'm eyeing the bartender and the young boy, see how they are reacting, how odd it looks, what's going on.
Well, when Gizmo kind of goes to look, the young boy looks, he kind of goes to the door and looks out, and then he see his eyes kind of open wide, and he runs over to the bar, and you see him like speaking to his father. Meanwhile, you hear the door open, and Gizmo, as you're going to the door to go look outside, you see the guard is now helping to lift the wounded man, and he's bringing him into the building, and he sees you at the door, and he's like, "Hold the door open."
I hold the door open and shuffle myself to the side so he would have easier time getting through.
And you see as they get closer, they're coming through the door. The guard is now at a point where he's bearing the bulk of the weight of the wounded man, and he brings the wounded man in and literally just like lays him down on the floor of the entrance of the inn. And the guard yells over to his shoulder, and he says, "Bring some bandages, something. He's bleeding." And you see this man now, you could see a little bit more clearly. Looks like he's been cut in several places. And you see basically an arrow that looks like it's snapped off. And it's in his chest, just kind of like between his upper pec and his shoulder. And there's a lot of blood coming out of that. And then the other areas where it looks like he's been cut up as well. He seems very pale, and he's kind of like, he's still breathing. But he looks very, very wounded.
How's everyone else in the inn reacting?
So you notice at this point, everybody seems to be taking notice of this. A few people like just kind of turn and look, and a couple people actually get up and like walk over, and there's, kind of a small crowd of people kind of around. And at this point you see the boy come over with what looked like dish towels basically. And he runs over and brings them, and the militiaman is kind of trying to like hold the dish towels to these different wounds. And he's talking to the wounded man. He's like, "How many were there? And was it just your farm?" And you hear the wounded man is like trying to respond.
Bill, while they're doing this, I want to have a look out the window just to see if anyone else is out there, if there might be more people coming.
Okay.
I mean, the man's being attended to, so I want to take a look and see if anything's happening outside of the bar. I'm not going to go out. I just want to look out through the window.
You crane your head out and you look down the street one way, you look down the street the other. You don't see any other people like running up, any people that look wounded or any refugees like that.
I'm still going to keep a somewhat of a lookout just to see if anything happens.
I'll walk over to the wounded man in the garden and see what I can hear from them.
Okay.
Question, what the hell happened?
You walk over, you see that the wounded man is like laying down, he's looking up and he's kind of gasping for air and he says, "Our farm was attacked. I've never even seen them or heard of them attacking during the day. There were 6 of them. They had weapons, and I hid my children. Please, you have to go to the farm to make sure they're okay. They're in the crawl space.
What type of creatures? Humans?
No, orcs, but they not like raiders. They weren't there just to steal. They were looking for something."
I'll look over to the rest of the group, and particularly Arizin. Looks like we got some orcs to kill.
I am there with you, brother.
As you're looking over, you notice a human man kind of coming over from one of the tables, and he was kind of off by himself. You notice he comes over and he looks to the wounded man and the crowd, and he's like, move aside.
Definitely move aside.
People kind of look, and he comes over, and you notice that he pulls something out from around his neck and begins clutching it, and you notice he puts his hand over the wounded man's damaged, the part where the arrow is sticking out, and he begins mumbling and chanting a prayer, and he grasps the arrow and he says, "This is going to hurt," and he pulls it out and blood spurts, but then he puts his hand on the wound and he begins continuing to chant, and a few moments later you notice this flush of color come over the man. The wounded man seems to be healed, and the people around look, and they're like murmur, it's a healer. It's a healer. It's the power of the gods flow through him, and they're like murmuring amongst themselves, and the human man like looks to the wounded man and he's like, "Are you okay?" And the wounded man is like, "Yes. May the gods praise you. Thank you. But my wife, my family, they're in danger. Please, someone can someone help me?" And the healer looks to you guys, and he looks to the militiamen, and he says, I will go with you to this man's farm if you will go to see to it that he is safe." And he looks to the militiamen and he says, you might want to sound the alarm. If these orcs attack so brazenly in the daytime, there's a chance that they could come to this village. And the militiaman nods, and he looks to the serving boy and he says, "Go to the bell, ring the alarm." And the boy runs out. You see him head towards the middle of the street where there's a well and there's a post and there's a big kind of iron bell, and he begins ringing the bell. Ding, 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 ding. The older man behind the bar comes around now, and he says, "You lot, go with this man to his farm. See about these orcs. You are armed men. I will stay behind and help the militia secure the town and help the folk of this village prepare and barricade." And you see he starts heading back to the bar. You see he grabs an axe and a shield from behind the bar, and he walks out of the bar. And he turns around before he leaves the bar and he says, "If anyone steals any liquor from my bar or any coin that you've paid, I'll have your head." And he walks out. The militiaman says, "If you lot go with him to his farm, it will be easier for us to secure the village here. But return by nightfall. if you can, and give us word.
Can I ask? I missed. That was to Barman. Militiaman was speaking to.
Militiaman
Barman.
was speaking to you guys.
Oh,
Yeah.
Okay.
To you guys.
Okay.
So the healer turns and he looks at you and he says, well met then. Let me get my things and we should go. He goes back over to the table and you see he grabs a backpack and slings it over one shoulder, and he takes a short bow and slings it over another shoulder, and he comes back towards you and he says, my name is Igar.
Hello.
Call me Igar.
I'm Gizmo. Yeah.
I am
guess-
Ari Zinn. Pleased to make your acquaintance.
Well then,
Chairman Brightbeard says,
and what of you, farmer? What is your name? The farmer looks up and says, my name is Bello, but I'm very concerned. Please, gentlemen, come. I hope that the orcs didn't find my family.
Can we ask which farm is yours? We are new in the city, so...
Yes. My farm is southwest of the village. It's about a quarter mile. We must hurry. If the orcs are done raiding it and hopefully have not found my family, there are other farms nearby that they may be raiding. Please, come with me. And
Let's go, brothers.
Gents,
make
lady,
haste.
let's get going.
He starts moving at a pretty quick jog. So the rest of you guys kind of follow his suit, and you're running at a pretty quick pace. You head out of the village, and as you head out, you see the innkeeper actually closing. As soon as you guys go out, he closes the wooden gate and he deadbolts it, and you hear the sound of the bell still going. You see two other residents who are putting on padded armor and they're getting spears. Looks like they're kind of trying to fortify the village. And as you guys are running out towards Bello's farm, you know that in the borderlands, because it's so sparse, because it's so spread out, because there really isn't a strong like central authority with a militia, that these kind of raids do happen from time to time, whether it's orcs, bandits, goblins. But all of you would know that it is uncommon for orcs to raid in a way that is necessarily about killing people. And they typically don't raid during the day, number one. Number two, they typically aren't armed very well. And when they do raid at night, it's typically more about stealing, right? Like stealing livestock, stealing tools, stealing supplies, stealing horses. But most of the time, it's not in a militant fashion where they're raiding and killing people and pillaging. So this does, as you guys are running after Bello towards his farm, it does occur to you that this seems very strange. It's very uncommon. You guys run, and you're making good time, and you see off in the distance, you see smoke. And you hear Bello as you guys kind of come around a copse of trees into this open space across the farmland. You see smoke, and he's like, "Oh no, quickly!" And he's running faster. Okay. You guys you're I'm assuming keeping pace with him.
Yes.
Yep.
As best as
And as you get, you jump over, you see him kind of jump over a very simple fence that's basically made to keep livestock in his grazing fields. He jumps over the fence, you guys jump over the fence, and you see now, as you get closer, what looks like a cottage, like a home, is in flames, and it's burning, and the smoke is going up into the sky. You see a couple of cattle on his land grazing, and the cattle look fine. They don't look like they've been attacked, butchered. You do not see any orcs in the vicinity, but you do see his house burning, and he's running now full sprint towards the house. As you guys get closer, Yeah, you keep up with him, despite the healing from Igar. He's still wounded, but he's sprinting full. You guys keep up with him, and you get within about 30 feet of this cottage, and it is engulfed in flame. And you see he kind of runs towards it, but then he there's like a not an explosion so much as but just a burst of flame as like the roof collapsed in, the thatch roof just collapses in, and it kind of blows out flame, and he kind of falls back, and he kind of falls onto his knees, and he's weeping. He's like, no, my family, no, and he collapses in just utter trauma and tears.
There's no chance that we can go in and save his family. The house is really completely in.
You guys are
flames.
30 feet away, and the heat is like you're breathing smoke. The heat, you're like, there is no way anyone is alive in that. Like,
Okay.
you fear even getting closer because the intensity of the heat is such that it burns even getting closer than where you guys are.
And we see a water supply.
You do see a well, and there is a bucket.
I go begin filling the bucket and trying to douse the flames.
You do, and it is a noble but futile effort. You throw the bucket, and it's like, and it turns into steam like as it hits the flames, and then you run back, you fill another bucket, and it's I mean, you're putting out like small little parts, but by the time you refill the bucket, it's completely burned back up again.
I was hoping we could identify bodies or at least get the flame down so we could see if there were anything left behind.
Is door open or closed?
The door is, well, I mean, there aren't really structures anymore. There's some walls, but most of this has collapsed inward of itself.
Oh.
It looks to you like in the amount of time that this has been burning, like he must have run for help and they must have set this thing to blaze, because it looks like it's been burning for long enough to where when you guys arrived, the roof collapsed and basically the home is imploded. So you know that if you let it burn out, you could maybe try to sift through the rubble to see if there are any survivors.
Is there anything else that we see within our sight?
There's a very simple barn, and it's not on fire. It's far enough away. It's about 100 feet away from the cottage, and it's not a big barn. I mean, this is like a one-story barn that looks like maybe it's where he stores some tools, and you're not really sure. There's a small like chicken coop adjacent to the barn, and a yard for the chickens. And again, what's odd to you is that like you see the chickens out there. They're kind of running around like crazy. Maybe they're perturbed by the fire. Do you want to go investigate the barn?
Yes.
I've,
I'd like to.
Go ahead.
I want to go up to that farmer and hold him in my arms. And how many Andersons are there, and where are they to that crawl space you were talking about? Any chance they might have fled out, or?
He is so beside himself with grief that he barely communicates to you. But he's like, there was a trap door in the center of our home that led to the crawl space below. The only way in or out would have been through the trap door.
Ouch.
Check the barn.
All right, so a couple of you guys go over towards the barn. In the barn, you see some very simple farming tools. There's some pitchforks and shovels. You see a small plow, and you even see a mule who's in a stall. And the mule seems to be a little panicked again from the smoke and the fire, but is not wounded, is still in his stall. And as you guys kind of approach, you see a couple other empty stalls, and you see there's like a bale of hay towards the back of the barn that you presume is what he uses for feeding his animals and stuff.
Yes.
I'll give a shout. Is there anybody there? Help us here.
As you say this, you hear something move behind the hay, and you see like hair and a head pop up and just the eyes of a woman who seems very terrified. And she sees you guys, and she stands up and she says, oh, we're saved, and she stands up and she pulls two kids out with her in her arms. They look like they're about 6 or 7 years old. And she says, my husband, Bello, is he alive?
He's here with us. Come.
And she comes out from around the hay with the children, and she looks to you and she says, our home, they burned our home.
Homes can be rebuilt, lives cannot. Come.
As you lead her and the children out of the barn, she sees Bello and she's like, husband, you're safe. And he turns and he's like, what? By the gods, thank you. And he gets up off of his knees and stumbles, like literally like barely able to even run towards his wife, and like collapses into this group embrace with his wife and his children. And they're all just bawling. The children are crying and the wife is crying, and he's holding his family, and he looks over his shoulder at you guys as you kind of stand framed in the barn entrance, and he's like, thank you. Thank the gods for your presence here today. And he's just overwhelmed with emotion.
You should get to the city as soon as possible. If they are still around, you might not be safe around here.
Yes.
Good idea, my friend.
And
I was going to say, would it be possible for us to do a search to see if we can see some footprints or something, or any kind of signs of what might have happened here?
Make an investigation check. For those of
and
you,
I have on my sheet on searching two checks. So I have a 2 in 6 chance to make my search.
Right. So you're going to roll a 1d6, and if you roll a 1 or a 2, you will successfully find something. Anyone else want to conduct investigation?
Fail.
Yep.
I got a 3.
So that's searching.
Roll the 1.
Nope.
You got it?
I got 1.
Okay. So while Bello and his wife are, they start loading. They have a very simple flat wagon. They start loading the chickens into this makeshift cage, right? And they're lifting it up on the wagon, and Bello's tying his mule up to the wagon, and like just kind of throwing anything that they can of value from the barn onto this wagon, and the kids are already up on the wagon. Meanwhile, and maybe Arazen is helping them. He's picking up some of the salvageable stuff, Gizmo, and while doing that, Terran and Brolgood, you guys notice that there are boot tracks, clear impressions in some of the dirt kind of close to the well, and it seems like they're heading west away from, there's a whole bunch of tracks around the area, and it seems like they're then heading west.
So
Orcs normally wear boots. Do we know this?
No, normally orcs do not wear boots.
I'll just ask the wife which way she heard the commotion leaving, if she heard them.
She said, well, I heard them after they had attacked my husband, and I could hear his cries of pain, but I was too scared to come out. And then I heard the sound of the fire, and I peeked out the trap door, and they didn't seem to be in our home. So I brought the children out, and I looked out the door as our home was burning, and I tried to gather some things, but it was dangerous. I saw them heading through the fields to the west. The Arnulfson, the Arnulfson family's farm is only 2 miles away.
Do we see any smoke at the horizon that way?
No, you look over in that direction, you don't see any smoke in that direction. Meanwhile, Bellows loaded his family onto the wagon, and he says, "My thanks once again to you, saviors. You truly have brought me blessings today, and I will not soon forget you. I take my family now, but please, if you are brave enough, the Arnulfson farm is just to the west."
We will go help them get your family safe to the town. They're fortifying up right now.
Thank you. And he and his wife begin moving down the dirt path back towards the village. You guys find yourselves pretty easily able to determine the route of those boot prints, and they are heading west, and you kind of see them towards the fields to the west.
Okay.
You guys head out?
Yeah, following.
Okay.
The tracks.
What's your pace? Walking, running?
Well, we know which way we go, so probably running.
Okay. All right. I need to know marching order. Who's up front? Who's in the middle? Who's in the back? I will say that Igar, the cleric that you guys had just met, he is wearing armor, so he's kind of a little bit behind. He's kind of in the back. Who's up front?
I can be up in the front. I'll get my bow out. I want to get there as quick as I can, but I don't want to rush all the way to the farm, just without at least having a little bit of a look to see what might be there.
Okay.
If you know what I mean.
All right.
I'm taking up the rear, making sure no one's following, and also looking for cover as we approach the new location.
Okay. So let me describe. Yeah, as you guys are moving, let me describe this. This area is pretty much just open farmland with an occasional tree, like 1 or 2 trees, and then open land, 1 or 2 trees. The crops have not been brought in yet, though, because it's still summer. So you can kind of move through some of the crops. Some of the cornfields are tall enough where you can kind of have a little bit of cover. And you guys make pretty quick pace, only stopping every once in a while just to confirm where you see the boot prints. But this is definitely a pattern. You see them heading kind of the west, almost as if they knew where they were going.
Can we tell the numbers based on the footprints? Can we tell how many there are?
I will let you guys make another roll, another investigation or search roll, to see if you can divine kind of the numbers.
I got a 1. I got a 1.
Okay, so between Freya and Rollgood, you notice a couple things. The first thing is, it is very difficult to tell their numbers because they are not running side by side. They're running in single line formation.
Like sand people.
Yes. But you figure that there are at least 6 of them.
And we have to be careful.
You guys run a half mile, and at the half mile point, Rollgood stops, and he stops, and you see him like kind of looking over the ground. He backs up, he moves around, and you guys see him kind of looking. And Rollgood, you notice that a chunk of the tracks continue due west, but that there's another group of them that split off. And you could definitely tell that it looks like maybe half of the group split off to go north and the other half went west. What do you guys do?
Is way north leaving civilized area around, or is it inside, like to the city, or is it around?
So interestingly enough, the tracks that go north would not take them directly to the village. It would take them north towards the village, but still west of the village. And the tracks that are heading due west looks like they would be heading in the direction of the farm that Bello had spoken of.
Say we go to the farm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say the
Investigate.
city is too far away.
Yeah.
Stick together.
And they're
Alright.
defending themselves, getting ready to defend. So
Okay.
Yeah.
we head over to the farm.
So you guys keep it up, you sprint, and you go another mile, and about 100 yards up ahead, through some crops, you see another farm. It is not burning, but you do see combat. You see 4 orcs, and it looks like they're fighting and banging on this door of this home, and they have axes and swords, and you see like 2 of the orcs just taking turns wailing on this door. 2 of the other orcs are kind of like at the barn door of this farm, and you hear like screams from inside the home.
How far are we?
You are about 100 yards away, about 300 feet.
I say to the party, "Oi, what do you say I get their attention?"
Yeah.
Do it.
I would rather a little to sneak up if I can, because I do have pretty good stealth outdoors. I'd like to get a little bit closer if I can.
Okay, so who's doing what?
I'm preparing basically on Brolgout's mark to use slingshot
Okay,
with one of the orcs.
all right. And Brolgood, you want to stealth forward to see if you can get closer in range for your bow?
Right.
Okay, so I'll have you guys make those. Hold on, one at a time. So I'll have you guys make those checks in a second. Freya, what is Freya doing, Niels?
She's moving up with Brolgood, with her bow out.
You're going to be part of the stealth group, okay?
Yep.
Kail, what is Taryn doing?
Got his claymore out. He's ready to charge up with Arizin.
Okay, so Arizin,
Flanking on either side,
okay.
right?
So are you guys going to rush the 2 guys that are assaulting the house door or the barn door? Because they're kind of split by about 60 feet
Where are the screams coming from?
inside the house.
House.
That's where I will attack.
Okay, and then the
I'll
stealth
take the ones
group-
at the barn.
All right, so Kail, you're going to go to the barn. What's
Yep.
the stealth group? Where are you kind of moving up to, and who are you going to target?
I would like to
The
go
house.
towards the house.
Okay. All right, so I'm going to have the stealth group go. Make your stealth checks first.
Okay. I have 2 checks. So I have a 2 and 6 chance.
Nope.
At a 3. To
Okay.
miss.
It doesn't mean that you get their attention. It just doesn't mean, it just means that you were not any stealthier necessarily.
Okay.
So here's how this is going to work. You guys are going up at a stealthier pace, which is a little bit slower than Arizin, who is running full blast to attack, and Taryn, who's running full blast to attack. So I'm actually going to have initiative start with them. So Arizin and Taryn make an initiative roll.
18.
12.
Okay. So you guys seem to have gotten, because they're distracted trying to like bash these doors in, you seem to have gotten the jump on them. And they don't like hear you until you're literally running up to attack. So you get first round to attack. So I'll start with Arizin, you had the 15?
18.
18. Okay. All right. So you're going to attack first. So go ahead. And by the way, let me describe these orcs. These orcs don't look like any orcs you've seen. First of all, they are wearing padded armor. Second, they're using weapons that don't look like they were made from, sharpened rocks. They're not primitive. These are actual, like, blacksmith forged weapons. Their axes are not stone axes. These are real axes. The 2 guys that are at the house. And the guys that are at the barn have actual swords, like broadswords. So you also notice that they're wearing boots, which is also again a peculiar sight. So as you run up on them, you catch them off guard. And Arizen, you get to attack first. So go ahead and make your attack roll.
With my long sword,
Yep.
hoisted up, I attack, but not trying to strike a killing blow because I have questions. So I rolled a 15. I don't know if that's a hit.
Okay. A 15, and then add in your strength modifier.
That was with the strength modifier.
Okay. All right. So that is a hit. That does hit them with their padded armor. So you can now roll damage.
8.
Nice. It's a solid hit. It's not a killing blow, but this guy is definitely caught off guard. You come down and just whoosh, and you gouge into his shoulder and his back, and he falls forward, dropping his axe. The orc right next to him, clearly caught off guard, will be responding in kind. But first, Taryn, you, kind of in similar fashion, you catch the guys at the barn off guard, so you're able to attack first. Go ahead. What is your weapon? What are you attacking with? Oh no, Kail froze.
Yeah.
Unfreeze Kail. I cast Unfreeze Kail on Kail. His internet connection improves.
What has he got? A battle axe, I think?
I think he
He
is.
does.
Yeah.
A great axe.
All right. I'm going to freeze time. I'll deal with him in a minute. Heath, the other orc who you did not just chop down, will turn and swing. What is your AC?
15.
That is a miss. He turns and kind of clumsily swipes at you with his axe, hoping to hit you, but clearly being caught off guard, he was not prepared. And the axe is an air ball. It just, it swipes in the air in front of you, but doesn't even ring close to hitting. Kail,
I dropped off.
I counter if I can. Oh, I don't know if I can. Can I counter with the butt of my sword to the back of his head? I just want to knock him out. Okay, no. Okay, I'll wait.
You can next round though. But
okay.
All right. So Kail, you get up, and what weapon does Taryn have, and what is your attack?
He's got a claymore, a big old claymore, and I'm going to do
okay.
the press option. So, according to the sheet, it says I get an attack bonus of +2.
Yes. So you add that plus your strength attack bonus to your die roll.
So the strength attack bonus, that's like the normal attack bonus you get on my weapons square. So that would be that plus the press bonus as well, right?
Right, and because you're a fighter, you get the fighter bonus. So
Okay, let's roll. That's a 17
that's
plus
a,
5. So
that's a hit easily. You much like Arizen, when you come up, you catch them off guard, and you just two-handed haul off. Roll your damage.
that's a 5 on the die.
Okay. You chop down, and again, you hit this guy kind of on the side and the arm, and he spins, and he doesn't drop his sword, but you could see like the expression on his face is like, where did this come from? Like clearly they were not expecting anybody to be here.
Right.
The guy next to him turns and swings back at you. What's your armor class?
13.
That is a miss. And the wounded guy will also swing at you, though that is also a miss. Okay. Before the next round, the stealth squad, if you have ranged attacks, you are now within 50 feet of this, and you guys kind of see this split. On the one side, by the house, you see Arizen in combat with an orc and another orc who he wounded.
Mm-hmm.
On the other side by the barn, you see Taryn also in combat with 2 orcs. So, let's do an initiative roll for the stealth squad. So I need Brolgood's initiative, Gizmo's initiative and Freya's initiative.
Or 13.
Sorry.
Mike first,
13.
Niels,
15.
and Martin.
16.
Okay, so Gizmo, you had your sling out, and you're like, go ahead and make your attack roll, your ranged attack roll, and tell me, are you attacking the wounded guy by the house, or the one that is currently in the middle of fighting Arizen?
Probably the guy that's fighting Erazan.
Okay. All right. And
But I rolled 7 in total, so
that's a miss. So your stone flies past him and ricochets off the house. Okay, next up was, I think Freya had a 15. Yeah.
Yeah.
So Freya.
I'm looping my short bow at the wounded guy.
Okay.
That's 19.
That's
plus
hit.
whatever.
Go ahead and roll damage.
Short bow, that's a d6. Ooh, 6.
The wounded guy was the one that Arizen had chopped, was like dropped his axe and he fell to the ground. And he was trying to get back up, and you just plunk an arrow into his side, and he just drops, like he just face drops. Blood shoots out of his mouth. It clearly punctured his lungs. He's down.
Nice.
Roll good. You see this in real time. It's just like a barrage from your comrades next to you. Who do you fire your bow at?
I was gonna fire at the guy that's fighting with Arizen,
Okay.
and that's with my longbow. And that's a 19.
19 is a hit. Roll damage.
Roll damage and 5.
5 is significant. It hits him right in the shoulder, and Arizen, this happens over your. So you're like, you slashed the one guy, you ducked out of the way as his comrade swung at you, and you see an arrow hit him in the shoulder, and blood shoots out. It's a good solid hit. Now, Arizen, you see this, and it is back to your turn. And you see this guy's been wounded. The other guy is dead at your feet. Now, you wanted to knock this guy out?
I want to grapple with him. I want to grab him into a headlock and subdue him.
Okay, good. Now
I have questions.
Rules. Now we get to look up rules. Okay.
Yeah, buddy.
Grappling is not the same as a hold action. Let's look this up, everybody. It's probably wrestling. Here it is.
Yeah.
If you're following along at home, people who own this Lamentations book, I am on the page that doesn't have a number. No, it does. Page 62 and 63. A character may attempt to wrestle another character to either immobilize or take something out of that character's hands. The attacker must have both hands free, which means you have to drop your sword weapon.
And shield.
The defender, if he's armed and has not yet attacked, can immediately make an attack against the aggressor before the wrestling attempt is resolved. Wrestling is resolved with a contested roll. Both parties roll a d20 and apply both their melee attack bonus and strength modifier. Ties are decided by dex, or a die roll if both are still tied. The winner decides whether the loser is immobilized, if he will attempt to disarm the loser of the contest, or if he releases the loser. So he's currently armed.
Okay, I drop my weapons and I reach in to grab it.
Okay, so make your roll.
Natural 20.
Nice.
Plus 6 for my modifiers.
Okay, so he had a 10 total. So what you do is basically you kind of move in as he's reeling back to swing again at you. He swings. You kind of move in, grabbing his shoulder and arm, and pulling him down to the ground, using his own inertia against him. He drops the sword. Now, he is not grappled, but your first attempt at this wrestling move has succeeded in disarming him. So next round, you can completely immobilize him if you succeed again.
Okay.
All right, you guys see this happening, but meanwhile, across the yard, Taryn, you're fighting two guys. Go ahead and attack. Are you attacking the wounded, the guy that you hit before? Okay.
Yes, correct.
And you're still pressing, so you get your bonus. You're falling in, all in. You swing your mighty claymore once again.
So that's 11 on the die plus 5, so 15.
That is a hit. Go ahead and make your damage roll.
7.
7, and you did 5 before.
Yeah.
That's enough. You swipe down, and this time the guy doesn't just spin; he drops, and your sword's firmly stuck into his chest cavity. Like you cleaved into his bones, and it's just a solid chunk of meat. His friend, however, takes a swing at you, and my guess is this is going to be a hit. 18 is the total.
That's a hit.
Okay. He swings his sword into you, and his broadsword does 4 hit points. It's almost one of those things where you hit the first guy so hard that the momentum knocked his body to the ground, and you're like yanking your claymore out, but it kind of left you a little bit open, and he took
Vulnerable,
advantage
yeah.
of that and swung and hit you. Archery squad, you guys see this going down, and you see your friend Taryn is facing off against worse odds than Arizen.
That's half my health gone.
Yeah. Gizmo, you're up. You see this happening.
How far am I from Terran?
You're 50 feet.
Okay, that's not my movement. I try to move closer to him, and he has 2 attackers on him. I try to slingshot one of them.
Yeah. So he's got one that's alive and unwounded that just hit. So you fire your slingshot off on him.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's 21.
Oh yeah, that's a hit. And what is the damage on the slingshot?
1d4.
Okay.
And it's 3.
Is it a stone or a pebble?
Pebble.
Well, I wanted to look this up because I actually don't know. So,
It should be slingshot bullet.
yeah. Okay. All right. So it hits him, and it hits him solidly and kind of knocks him off of his guard, which is buying time. Freya, you're up.
And I move as close to him as I can.
Yeah, so Gizmo, you moved up and you fired off another sling, hitting the guy,
Yeah.
and the orc kind of stumbles back a little bit. Freya, you're up.
Yeah, I hold my ground and shift my fire over to the guy fighting out in the distance a bit further.
Okay,
It's 17 plus 1, 18.
that's a hit.
All right, here we go again. 5.
So 5 plus the stone from Gizmo. He is wounded, but he's still up. Roll good.
Yeah, I just hit him with another arrow. We'll see. Or I try to hit him with another arrow.
Okay.
That's so range is plus 2. That's a 16.
That's a hit. Roll damage. This could be enough.
All right. 6.
That's definitely enough. So it's again, it's Taryn. You were in combat. You sunk your claymore into the first guy, dropping him, but then kind of got stuck, and you took a nice hard hit across your shoulder and chest, and you're kind of like reeling back in pain. But then you see the guy who hit you just get hit by a stone, and then an arrow, and then another arrow, and he spins out both directions, and then he fumbles and drops. All right, top of the order.
Good measure.
Arizen, You must make another contested strength check. Now that he is disarmed, it's you and him mano a mano. Make your roll versus.
All right, so it's plus strength modifier here.
Yep.
19.
Oh, you're lucky. He got a 16.
Oh,
So
jeez.
you disarmed him. You roll over. You basically have him in an arm lock, and you roll over and grapple him. Now, you've got one of his arms pulled back behind his shoulder, and remember, he's bleeding because he got hit. And you're taking advantage of that pain, and you just roll him onto his wound, and he's like, "Argh!" And he screams out in pain. You've got him pinned.
Monster,
Good.
do you speak common tongue?
He's like, "Yes, I speak man."
Lie still if you want to live.
You see that his eyes, well, actually you wouldn't see his eyes because you got his face pressed into the mud, but he stops struggling as much as he initially did. Now, the rest of you notice this, okay? Taryn, you were in pain. You took a pretty hard hit.
Yeah.
Igar runs over to you, and he's slinging his bow, and he's pulling out some bandages, and he says, and he looks at the dead orcs, and he says, "Come here, lean up against the barn. Let me see that." And he pulls out a flask of water, and he kind of starts washing the wound, and it stings a little bit. And then he's like, "Pull back your shirt. Let me bandage that." And he starts bandaging.
I'll take a drink too.
Yeah,
my own stuff.
It hurts, but you take a swig off of your hard liquor while he's bandaging you up. He pulls out this little metal hook, kind of looks like a fish hook, and he threads this thread through it, and he starts threading it through and making a knot. Meanwhile, the rest of you guys, Gizmo, Freya, Rollgood, you guys move forward out of the crops, and you see Arizen has this wounded orc completely locked up. You guys kind of surround him, and in this moment, it's quiet. I mean, the wounded orc that is now grappled is grunting, kind of in pain, but it's relatively quiet. And you hear some voices from inside. Like, are they gone? What happened? I don't know. I can't see. Shh, be quiet.
As I get there, I take out my rope and start tying up the orc.
Good. I was hoping that someone would do that. So you Arizen, you have a knee on his back, and you've got his arms pulled back. He's not going anywhere. Freya begins expertly tying him up. Kind of, hog ties his arms and his hands together, and then ties one strand to his foot, so he's not moving anywhere. Rollgood, you while Freya's helping Arizen to secure the prisoner, you and Gizmo hear these voices from inside the house, and it's very hushed voices, but you hear people inside.
I'm go towards door, knock on them, and say, "Yeah, you should be safe for now."
You hear someone from inside say, "Who's there?"
We were sent from the city. There, your neighbor was attacked as well, and he managed to get in the city sooner, in the village sooner than you have. So, yeah, we those orcs attacked him first. So we followed their trail, and yeah, we got here in time, as it seems like. Your neighbor's house got burned down, so...
You hear, when you're explaining this, you hear a deadbolt, something slide from behind the door, and the door kind of creaks open, and you see the face of like a teenage girl, and then a couple more faces behind her, a couple boys, and they look out and they say, you're from the village? Did you see? You said our neighbor. You mean Bello and his family?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, his house was burnt down by the orcs. We believe.
They look down right outside their doorstep, seeing one dead orc, and then seeing Freya and Arizen securing another, and they kind of jump back. But then the teenage girl's like, "What about our father? Did he make it?" And she like looks. You see she looks at the barn. Right about this time, Kail, Igar is suturing up your gash and you know is kind of trying to pull it back together and bandaging it, and then pulls a little more. You hear like something inside the barn move, and you see the barn door creak open, and a middle-aged man looks out, and he says, Who are you? What happened to those orcs? Are they gone?
Dead. They're dead. Come on out.
And he opens the door and he says, "Thank you. Thank all of you. You've saved my family, my children. Are they okay?" And you see he opens the door and he comes out now, and you see he has like a pitchfork in one hand and a shovel in the other, and he says, "Oh, you've been wounded. I'm sorry, but thank you so much." And he
Go take care of your children. They're over there.
He runs over to the house, and when the children see him, they open the door and they come out. They're like, "Father!" And you see now that this man has 4 kids, the oldest of whom seems to be this teenage girl, but you don't see a wife. And they all kind of run into an embrace. It's emotional, but nowhere near the level of emotion that you witnessed with Bello's family after he realized that his wife and children were not burned to death. But they're very relieved, and that's the biggest sight that you see. And Arizen, as you get your knee off and stand up and kind of brush dirt off of yourself, Freya finishes the knots, and this captured orc now is kind of looking up at you guys, and the family seems to be relieved, and the man says, I cannot thank you all enough. I am not a wealthy man, and I have no wife, but you've saved my family, and if I could feed you or perhaps share something with you, we would be more than happy to do so.
I think it would be better if you prepared for a night in the village, because there were a few more which we hadn't had time to catch up yet for.
Well, why? What? I don't understand. Why would orcs? I've never seen orcs like that, and especially in it's daytime. I don't understand. Why are they raiding us like this?
I plan on getting to the bottom of this.
Yeah.
So
that's why you captured one.
If you don't mind, I would like to bring my children inside then, and just perhaps we could start gathering some things. And he's like, "Come, children, quickly, gather some sacks. We must pack up." And he goes inside. The door's still open, so you guys see them like milling about, and the kids are taking some dried goods and kind of filling bags with food and that sort of thing.
What time of day is it?
It's still light out. It's like 5 o'clock. And again, you guys have never seen orcs wearing armor, using like forged weapons, wearing boots, coming out during the day. You've never seen this kind of calculated maneuvering from these sorts of orcs. In this region, the orcs are extremely primitive. They're nomadic, Stone Age technology kind of pilferers and raiders and thieves, but very rarely have you seen this sort of organized behavior.
Are there any markings on their clothing and armor and weapons?
So no need to make any rolls because this guy is clearly captured. But all 4 of these orcs were wearing padded armor. And again, this is armor that looks like it was, made by somebody who knows how to sew and how to construct padded armor. And you notice that all 4 of them, their padded armor, there's a very small symbol, and it looks kind of like a crescent moon sort of symbol and it's sewn into the upper left corner of all of their padded armor. And the stitching that was used is red.
And is it all like crude stitching, like orcs might do, or
No, this
refined?
looked like something done by a tailor, that was added to the padded armor, and it looks very consistently done.
Okay, so man-made, not orc-made.
Yes.
Good to know.
Where are you guys doing this? Because right now, like, you're literally on the front porch, and there's a dead orc body. Like, what do you do with the other dead orcs? What do you do with this orc that you captured? Give me an overview. I'll start with Heath.
I pull the dead orc around the side of the house out of view.
Okay.
And with the one that's living that we're all about to question, I find a place where we can sit away from the children so they don't get scared, because we're about to go to work on this guy.
I'm going to assume then that, do you want to keep all the dead orc bodies like in the same place?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I would like to kind of take a look and maybe look in their pockets and see if they have anything that we might be able to use to determine what they're up to.
So
Loot!
I'm going to say that you guys, so Arazen and Freya start bringing the prisoner to the barn. You find a nice milking stool, and you sit down on it, and you put him on the ground. And you kind of, you're looking around the barn, checking that out. The rest of you guys each grab an orc body, and Igar helps you, and you drag the orcs kind of into a pile around the side of the house and start checking them out. For loot, their armor is fairly well intact. There's a couple punctures and gashes. The only one that you really can't salvage is the one that Terran butchered with his claymore. The padding is totally split, it's spilled out, but you feel like there's at least 2 suits of padded armor that you could salvage. Their weapons, there are 2 axes and 2 broadswords that are still in great condition. You find on one of the dead bodies, you find a scroll, and it has been opened. It's not sealed, but you see that the seal, there was a wax seal on this. And when you kind of hold it together, it looks like the wax seal is also that of a crescent moon. You look at the scroll, and the writing is that of someone who is clearly literate, and you're able to read the scroll. But more important than the wording is the picture that you see. It looks like there's a drawing or a sketch. So the wording says, "Find this object and bring it back to the grove." And you see this sketch, and the sketch looks like, it kind of looks like a candle holder. And you see the shape of what looks like a stand, and it almost looks like a small column where there's like a fat part at the top and a fat part at the bottom, and then a column with like fluting.
Okay.
This the seal, the moon crest, is that something that we might know from?
I'll let each one of you make an intelligence check.
Intelligence roll under or skill?
Yeah, I don't know if this would just be. Why don't you roll under your intelligence check? Tell me who gets the lowest roll.
That's with the D20, right?
Yeah.
Oh,
11 on 11.
I'm pretty dumb. I got a nat 20.
I got a 19.
I
I
have
didn't get it either.
I have 6 under mine. I'm at 10 on the die.
Okay. So you guys are looking at this, and Gizmo looks at it and he says, in my studies, Gizmo, you feel like you remember this symbol, and that it relates to your studies of magic. A long time ago, decades ago, there was a cult of wizards who believed that there would be a prophecy about a crescent moon, a blood crescent moon, that would reveal a magical power. And that they sought these artifacts that would divine exactly when and where this magical power would be released, so that their hope was that they could obtain that power.
Yeah, Gizmo takes a minute looking wide-eyed and then turns to the group and says, yes, they are searching for really powerful stuff for my knowledge.
Now, the picture of the column looking thing, that doesn't necessarily strike any memory for you. You're not really sure what that is, but the crescent, the red crescent symbol, is that seems familiar to you.
Honestly,
So in your recollection, again, it had to do with a cult of magic users, and you don't remember any references to orcs regarding this. You guys pile up the bodies, you strip the salvageable padded armor, you get the weapons, you bring all that stuff to the barn. Arizan, you are sitting comfortably on a milking stool. Freya, you have a dagger that you're just playing with in an intimidating sort of way. And the orc looks at all of you guys, and you see now a realization. Yes, Kail. Say that again.
I'm gonna kick that orc right in the face.
Okay. You walk into the barn, you kick him, and he falls back. And his nose is bloodied, his lip is cut, and he spits blood out, but you see a realization on his face that he is wildly outnumbered. And he kind of looks at you, and he looks at Arizan, and he's like, what do you want?
Who are you
Well-
working for?
Mm-hmm. I'll give everyone an opportunity to ask them all the questions they want before I go in on them.
Oh, first thing we want is not any more raids around here, and for our knowledge there were 2 more of you, so would you mind explaining when they went?
Searching for.
I turn on the scroll and say, this stuff?
Yes. Someone find for masters.
And was that pillaging necessary?
Don't know which farm has it. If you find it, give it to me and release me.
I can kick him in the face again.
Oh,
You're quite the comedian.
Masters will reward you. Masters have much gold and silver.
Who is your master?
The Red Crescent.
How much gold?
Masters have piles of gold. At the grotto, I will take you if you help me find it and bring it. Orcs are not the only ones who serve the Red Crescent.
How many other parties are searching?
Don't understand what she asks.
Kick him, Taryn.
How many are you? Where are you placed? Where are you located?
6 we are.
And how does it feel to be a sellout to your own kind?
Igar leans over to Terran and whispers in his ear, "He's not telling the truth."
It's another boot to the face.
Ugh. His face is starting to swell up. He looks up and he spits out more blood and he says, "More than 6 there are. More than 6.
I bet
6,
it how
6 was we, and 6 more to the village. Find the peace we must."
We're gonna have to go defend the village, I fear.
Yep.
I believe so
Likely.
too.
First, let's ask the family if they recognize the symbol, if they have a candlestick or something resembling this item.
Have we any more questions for this one?
Oh,
Oh, I've got lots of questions for him.
I think we should take him to the city, to the guard.
Let's see if the family has a wagon, some way we can pack everybody up and
Oh,
move
they-
to the village more quickly.
They do. You guys, in fact, like the barn doors are open, so you see them. They're actually loading their own wagon. But because there's more of them and their house wasn't burned down, their wagon is getting full of stuff. Like it looks like they're trying to load everything that they can that they own into this wagon. The kids are all running back and forth with bags. The father comes out with a couple wooden crates of stuff, and they're loading things up. So do you go talk to them? Like, who goes to talk to them?
I go.
I look over at Ayers and, "You want the honors? I don't think we're gonna waste our time with this guy."
With the orc or with the family?
With the orc.
Yes, I'll take my time with him and meet you all at the wagon.
I walk out. I give him one more kick to the face and I walk out the barn.
Okay. He doesn't
walk
sit
out.
back up. He's not dead, but he doesn't sit back up. He's like on the ground bleeding, and he's looking up at Arizon. One of his eyes is already closed up. You guys walk out of the barn and you walk over to the family, and the man, Arnolfson, looks to you and he's like, "Friends, thanks again. Will you be accompanying us? Will you help us to get back to the village safely?"
I think we need to get those other two, because they will continue raiding till they are stopped or they find some candle holder. Was it?
Do you guys talk to him about that?
Yeah, I don't see a reason not to, but just vaguely.
So you show him the picture.
No, I just tell him they are searching for some candle holder and see how he reacts at first.
Make a wisdom check. Roll under your wisdom.
That's certainly over. That's 9 over. So, fail.
Who else is there? All of you guys are there, right? Except for
Yeah.
except for Heath. All right.
I can
make a
try.
wisdom check.
I got a 2.
Wow. Roll good. You feel like when Gizmo talks about a candle holder, you see like a moment where Arnolfson kind of like his eyes dart over to the wagon, and then he looks back at you and he goes, "Well, why would they be searching for a candle holder?"
I got a 7 on that underneath my score.
You kind of also sense the same thing. Like there's like a moment of recognition.
Well, it seems they are part of some cult, to my knowledge. Cults want weird things sometimes.
Friend, you seem to have some recognition to your face.
Do you
What's
have
going on?
candle holders that that you could show us?
Yes. Come. He goes to the back of the wagon and he picks up one of the boxes and pulls it down. And you see like a bunch of mundane stuff in there. And as he's pulling things out, at the bottom, you see a brass candle holder that looks extremely similar to the picture that you saw. And he pulls it out and he holds it up and he says, this was a family heirloom. My father inherited it from his father. I don't know why they would want it. And he kind of hands it to you guys to look at.
I'll let Gizmo take it.
As you're looking at it, you look at it and you see like clearly the bottom is kind of where it stands. But at the top, in the cup at the top where it should hold a candle, not only do you see a little metal spike where you would stick a candle, but around that metal spike you see a crescent shape.
Does it have any writing on it?
You examine it.
Yeah.
It does not have any writing on it. But I will have you make another intelligence check.
Okay. 5, so that's 11 under.
You feel like perhaps this could be somehow involved in an arcane ritual. As if this might be a necessary component to some ritual, but you don't know what that ritual is. Actually, what spells do you have? You might know what that ritual is.
Like prepared or no?
You know.
Enlarge, summon, light, and read magic.
You have summon?
Yeah.
You're not quite sure what this is supposed to summon, but you're pretty sure that this is part of a summoning ritual. Now, the only thing is that you know that if this is part of a summoning ritual, that it's probably not the only one of these that would be needed. And you know a lot of different ways in which rituals might involve candles and candle holders. And usually they involve at least 3. Some of them involve 5 or even 7.
Well, guys, it seems like they have a big plan in the future. It will be better if this gets into the village and probably at best in the care of town's guard.
I think we should hold on to it.
Yeah, just to be clear, remember that the village has 4 volunteer constables who, all of whom are smaller than Arizen. So you feel like you guys might have a better chance of protecting this than they would.
Okay.
Arnulfson is like more than happy to give this up. He goes, just to be clear, that's the reason why these orcs came here. And if I don't have it, they might not bother me?
Well, if they don't think you have it.
I see. Children, pack it up. We need to go to the village. And like, they keep packing stuff up, and after about 20 more minutes, they're ready to go. But in the meantime, Arizen and Freya. Yes, Freya.
Yeah. Sir, do you know anyone else that might have, that also has this similar candle holder? Have you seen anyone at other places?
I've never seen one like this, but...
Where did you get it?
Well, it was a family heirloom. My grandfather got it, but I'm not sure from where. I mean, this farm's been on our family for generations. It's sat on the mantle of our fireplace for 60 years, probably. I remember it when I was a kid. Oddly enough, though, we've never used it. Like, my grandfather never burned a candle in it. It just sat up there.
Okay.
But he was an elder at the church in the village. Maybe they might know something there. I don't know.
I think we could go to the church maybe to check that out too. Let's not forget that.
Yeah. And we'll see about getting back to the village as quick as we can.
Okay. Eris, you have some time while they were looking around and checking out the candle holder. What are you doing with the captive?
right. Now, as I told you earlier, if you wanted to live, do as you're told. Now I have questions for you. First of all, I've never seen an orc with that type of attire on. Who's paying you? Who's providing your armor and your clothing? And who do you answer to?
The Red Crescent. All of those things. The Red Crescent.
I want to know more about this Red Crescent. In my travels, I've not heard many tales.
There are two men, like you, men. One wears the red robes. He is one of the masters. The other is a man in armor, a fighting man like you. He trained orcs. He brought us armor and weapons, showed us man combat.
Now, the orcs in this area have not been evolved as much as you in your training. Do they have resentment towards you and your fellow orc that have joined this band?
No, they fear us.
Interesting. If I were to let you go, what would you do with your remaining days? Wait. Think very, very clearly about this matter. If you do something that will endanger me in my future endeavors, I will end you now, but I gave you my word, so you answer correctly and I shall let you go.
If I do not return to the grove with the candle holder, the Red Wizard will kill me. He will feed me to demons.
You have seen my team in combat. How would we fare at this grove?
You would all die. The captain himself would defeat all of you. He wears bright metal armor, a helmet, a shield, and he has a sword. When he calls upon his demon god, the one he serves from the Red Crescent, he can make his sword burst into flames.
Well, I'm not very smart, so that's right up my alley. Point me in the direction and I shall let you live.
The grove? If you follow the Great River south for 10 miles and then head east, you will find a set of rolling hills. And atop one of those rolling hills is a white boulder. That's where the map to the grove is.
I take my dagger and I mark his face very clearly so that I will always know. I give you this mark so I will always know if you cross my path again, your life will end that day.
He clenches his teeth as you carve into his skin. But he seems to be, despite the fact that he's badly wounded, he seems to somehow respect the honor of your word. And after you finish cutting him, he kind of winces in pain and he's like, I will take my chances and flee. To return to the grove empty-handed would only mean my death.
In that case, I wish you luck on your journeys. I'm sorry we had to meet this way, but you have made a wise decision.
He sits in his pool of his own blood, just kind of like contemplating. As you finish up, the family is finished packing up. They load the wagon and they begin heading off down this simple dirt path towards the village. You guys, escorting them basically, follow back, and about a half an hour later, you arrive at the simple wooden fence around the village. One of the guards sees you guys approaching, and he yells down, he says, "Open the gate, it's the Arnulfsons!" And you hear two people opening the gate, and you guys kind of come in with the family, and you see there's a fair amount of townfolk. There's like 20 townfolk, all of whom have like simple tools and weapons, no armor, but they all seem to have kind of rallied around the gate. And you notice like further in up the road, kind of closer towards the inn, you see the innkeeper kind of like pointing and barking off orders, and you see people kind of walking around with torches and things. And at that point, once the family's in and you guys are safely inside, they close the gates, and you see Bello, the farmer, run over to you guys, and he says, he sees the Arnulfsons. You see him run up and give a good firm arm shake. And then he runs over to you guys and he says, you men are incredible. You've saved so many today. I don't even know how we could repay you, but if you would stay the night to ensure that our village is safe, we would appreciate it. And
to our knowledge, there should be up to 8 more which should attack directly at the village.
We have not had any attacks, and we have the militiamen have split us up all along the fences around the village. We haven't seen anyone approaching.
Okay.
We have plenty of oil and torches too. We're gonna keep a watch, keep a vigil throughout the night. People will take turns.
That will be for the best.
You should see Marco, the innkeeper.
Okay. I
need something to drink anyway.
You guys head towards the center of town. You see the well. You see the big pole with the post with the alarm bell, and you see the innkeeper. He sees you guys and he walks over and he says, "It is good that you men were here in our village at this time. We need help. Would you stay? I will not charge you for your rooms or your food or drink, provided that you stay sober enough to fight should we be attacked in the night."
That sounds like an
I'll try
excellent deal.
Good.
Bro good. That means you, bro good.
I'll try.
Take your rest now, for we will need you. I will come for you in the middle of the night, and perhaps you could see us through to the dawn.
About that drink.
You guys go
Definitely need a drink.
Yeah, you guys go into the inn, and Marco's son is the only person in there. He sees you guys, and he's like, "Come, sit, have a table. I'll bring food and drinks." He brings over mugs of ale for you guys. He brings over some food, and you guys can sit and rest for a bit. Igar pulls out his pipe and packs some tobacco into it and lights it and takes a puff, and he says, "Well, this has certainly been an interesting day. I'm glad that I met you, gentlemen."
That's you. Tell us more about yourself. Where do you hail from?
Not much to tell. I guess I'm a man moved by my faith, much like my father before me. But I do fancy some adventure. That's why I left the city and came out here to the borderlands. It's a rough area, sometimes a little bit too rough. I sometimes regret my decision, but it's always good to find company in numbers. And he raises a mug and he says, "Cheers, gentlemen."
Cheers.
And you guys clink mugs. You spend a few hours eating, drinking, getting to know each other a little bit better. And in the middle of the night, Marco returns. You guys kind of groggily lift your asses off of your chairs, and you make some patrols around the village. And at the end of the night, you're exhausted. You've had a full day and a full night without any rest. But you see the village through safely to the dawn. There were no attacks, no additional reports of orcs. And as you guys kind of settle into your beds in the inn, it does occur to you whether or not you'll ever find out more about this mysterious group, this Red Crescent. And I suppose we'll find out in the next episode. And that is our playthrough of the prequel of this band of adventurers, this yet to be named band of adventurers. And we'll find out what happens, whether they live or die in future episodes.
Hello, it's me, Wizzy. I'm back once again to remind you to subscribe and click on the notifications button, and also watch videos that are over there. And then don't forget to tune in to the next episode of whatever show you were just watching, and crafting videos and DM tips and pro tips for vlogging and all sorts of gaming things. And also you could watch Bill eat food and watch other shows featuring Bill. He made me say that because he's a narcissist. Okay, bye.